The air was thick with the promise of spring, but inside the tidy home on East 92nd Street, a horror was unfolding that would chill Cleveland to its core. 4 lives brutally cut short, their futures extinguished by an act of unimaginable violence. This wasn't just a crime, it was a massacre. Terrell Silver, a man who had known some of his victims for years, stood accused. The prosecution alleged a cold-blooded execution, their case built on a foundation of forensic evidence and witness testimony. But Silver maintained his innocence, a claim that did little to quell the outrage and grief that swept through the city. The victims, Christopher Monroe, Dejuan Dama Willis, Ayanna Quitman, and the pregnant Jasmine Lawson, were more than just names on an indictment. They were sons, daughters, friends, and in Jasmine's case, a soon-to-be mother. Their stories, intertwined in life, would be forever linked by the tragedy of their deaths. Christopher, known for his infectious laugh and generous spirit, had dreams of opening his own barbershop. Dejuan, a talented musician, poured his heart into his music, hoping to make it big one day. Ayanna, the youngest of the victims, was a bright light, her infectious energy brightening even the darkest of days, and Jasmine, full of life and excited about the future, was just weeks away from welcoming her child into the world. Their paths crossed through friendship, shared dreams, and in some cases, family ties. On that fateful day in June 2019, their lives were tragically cut short. The details as they emerged were harrowing. Gunshots shattered the quiet afternoon, followed by an eerie silence. It wasn't until a concerned neighbor noticed a strange odor coming from the house that the authorities were called. Inside, they discovered a scene of unimaginable carnage. The investigation was swift and thorough. Detectives worked tirelessly, piecing together the events leading up to the murders. Their efforts led them to Terrell Silver, an acquaintance of the victims. He was apprehended within days, the weight of the evidence against him mounting with each passing hour. The trial of Terrell Silver was a somber affair, the weight of the charges hanging heavy in the air. The prosecution laid out their case methodically, presenting forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and chilling details about the crime scene. The defense, however, maintained Silver's innocence, painting a picture of a flawed investigation and unreliable witnesses. Days turned into weeks as the trial progressed. The prosecution called witness after witness, each testimony adding another layer to the narrative of a senseless tragedy. The defense, in turn, challenged the credibility of the witnesses and raised questions about the handling of the evidence. Throughout the trial, the families of the victims sat stoically, their grief palpable. Their eyes, filled with a mixture of pain and defiance, never left Terrell Silver, as if willing him to acknowledge the enormity of his alleged crimes. The courtroom fell silent as family members of the victims took the stand, one by one. Their voices, heavy with grief and tinged with anger, filled the room, each word a testament to the devastating impact of the murders. Christopher's mother spoke of her son's infectious laughter, now silenced forever. Dejuan's sister recalled his passion for music, his dreams shattered by a hail of bullets. Ayanna's father, his voice breaking, spoke of his daughter's infectious energy, her absence leaving a gaping hole in their lives. And Jasmine's mother, her voice thick with emotion, spoke of the grandchild she would never get to hold, the future stolen from a young mother and her unborn child. Their words were a powerful reminder of the human cost of this tragedy, the ripple effects of violence extending far beyond the immediate victims. Silver offered condolences to the families of the victims, but he denied that he killed the 4. "I'm not responsible for these crimes," he said. After weeks of testimony and hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. Terrell Silver was convicted on all counts, including aggravated murder, and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict, while bringing a sense of closure, did little to alleviate the pain felt by the victims' families. Their loved ones were gone, their absence a constant ache in their hearts. The murders sent shockwaves through Cleveland, shaking the city to its core. In the wake of the tragedy, Community leaders, activists and residents came together, demanding justice for the victims and calling for an end to the gun violence that had plagued their city for far too long. Vigils were held, memorials erected and conversations started, all in an effort to heal the wounds left by this senseless act of violence.